I got my eye on you. You ain't got nowhere to hide, so I'm coming for you. Yeah, I'm a hunter, and if I'm what I wanna, so you should leave now, cause I'm a good runner. Yeah, I got my pride, I never roam alone. I've got the best tribe, you don't wanna know. You'll be a quitter, soon as I pull my trigger. You should give up now, my roar's getting bigger. Ooh, I'm not a cub no more. I've grown into a lion, and I'm about to roar. All these wars have only made me better, stronger, tougher. Before you run, hear me get wild, hear me get wild, wicked alive. I move, you lose, watch me arise, watch me arise, brave like a lion. Before you run, hear me get wild, hear me get wild, wicked alive. I move, you lose, watch me arise, watch me arise, brave like a lion. I walk in the light, I hunt in the dark. I got a fierce story for every battle scar. I'm a real stunner, cause I'm an overcomer. You better move far, cause I'm going real high. As soon as I bow my head and take a deep breath, you know I'm dead set on making you regret. You'll hear the thunder, and it'll make you wonder why you ever tried, cause you're on the wrong side. Ooh, I'm not a cub no more. I've grown into a lioness, and I'm about to roar. All these wars have only made me better, stronger, tougher. I'm not a cub no more. I've grown into a lioness, and I'm about to roar. All these wars have only made me better, stronger, tougher. Before you run, hear me get wild, hear me get wild, wicked alive. I move, you lose, watch me arise, brave like a lion. Before you run, hear me get wild, hear me get wild, wicked alive. I move, you lose, watch me arise, brave like a lion.
Welcome, everybody. Sorry, I'm so excited. This happened to me the last time. For those who don't know, this is our second Vulnerable No More event. Welcome, welcome. I actually even teared up. The first one, I was like, okay, just keep it together. I already struggle with attention deficit hyperactivity, so you'll all bear with me, right? Welcome, everybody that's live streaming right now. I want to welcome you also. Thank you. I know we had a bunch of you sign up, and I'm just so proud of every single one of you for showing up tonight. It is a hard topic. It is. It's hard. That's why we mixed in fun. That's why Michael's here. Give it up for Michael. Yeah. We want things to be lighter. You know what I mean? We wanted to get to a place where this is a more comfortable conversation. You would not believe I've done radio interviews, I've done TV interviews, I've done everything I can think of, but get on my knees and beg people to come to this because it's so important. So thank you all for showing up, and thank you for watching us on live stream tonight. It means the world to me. I need you to know that. I wanted to thank this house. This is my home. This is my home. I was pregnant with my daughter Rachel. I was 8.5 months pregnant when we started coming here, and that's been a long time ago. But it's been my home ever since. We were in a different building then, and my pastors, that's Marshall and Cindy Townsley. This is Cindy over here. Stand up for us for a minute. I want you to know she's one of the most beautiful and amazing people that I have in my corner in my life, and she's been along with me on this journey the whole time. I also have my 97-year-old mother-in-law here with me tonight, Phyllis Kaplan. And she brings me so much joy. She's been in my corner from day one, and I love her so much, so much. So thank you, Mom, for coming tonight. It means so much to me. I wanted you to, just for a second, you each have, and I see one of the orange folders right there. You got an event folder when you came in, a bag. I just want you to pay attention to that for a minute, because we're not going to get to cover everything that's in that bag. There is too much information, too much. So we want you to have that to refer back to. You'll hear pieces of things, parts of things, and you can go back in there and reference that information. So I want you to know that everything in there, we thought of you when we put it together. What would we want them to know? What must they know when they leave here? So please don't just toss that to the side. If you get a minute, take some time and go through it. And I didn't do this last time, but this is important to me, so I want you to know it. Inside of that folder is a prayer request. You don't have to fill that out. I don't expect everybody to feel comfortable with that. But I want you to know that if you do fill that out and you drop it off either at our prayer table or in one of the boxes that are around for that, you will be prayed for. And I want you to know that. So don't think it's not for real. We are taking time to do that for you. If you're online and are live streaming and you want to just DM a separate prayer, please take time to do that, and we will go back in as a team and pray for you. I want to also say the two tables in the back, we always have a counselor table and we always have a prayer table. Because of the things we talk about, it can be really hard sometimes. So we want you to know there's resources for you. You don't have to leave here without some help, without an idea of who you might talk to or what you might do moving forward. Because we're going to talk about vulnerabilities. It's going to remind you of some things in your past maybe, but it's to empower you and equip you. You guys will leave here empowered and equipped to deal with things you may have gone through, and that's our goal. So I want to say real quick, if everybody would just take a minute with me, it's more for me than it is for you. We've got a lot to talk about. Can we just stop and breathe for 1 minute? Just, it helps me. Thank you for doing that. I want you to know there is not one thing about this that's meant to cause shame. I have so much in my own past that I could be really so filled with shame over, but I'm not. I'm on the other side of that now, and I've had a long journey getting there. But I want you to say that is not, I want you to know that is not our point. That is not what we're striving to do tonight. Because we want you to leave here knowing that you are empowered with information, that you don't have to go one more day of your life living the same, whatever it is, whether it's mistakes or whatever, you don't have to continue to do that, and you need to know that. So we're not trying to upset or make somebody feel bad. That's the last thing we want. So I want to talk for just a moment about why vulnerable no more. And I guess you told them I was, did anybody tell anybody I'm Toya Kaplan? I'm Toya Kaplan. I told you I was ADD. So I'm Toya Kaplan. I'm the founder of, well, it's For the One is the name of our ministry, our program. But we are also vulnerable no more with this campaign. And I thought many of you might not understand what the history is of this. So for just a moment, I want to explain to you that back years and years ago, I was in North Carolina when I met a group of amazing young women, 12 years old to probably 17, from Moldova. And it was then that I found out about sex trafficking in other countries. I just can't even believe I hadn't heard of it by then. But my 3 daughters were around the same ages as those young ladies that I met, and I was devastated. Not having the time, of course, I was working at a daycare. We owned a daycare. I had a bunch of kids. It was a good idea to have a daycare. But I didn't have time to travel over there and to try to help with my own hands. So I worked until my kids were older, and then I started researching again. And what I began to find out is that sex trafficking right here in the United States happens. And then when I sat down with someone, her name is Shelley Repp, who is now involved with the New Mexico Dream Center, she's the one who told myself and 2 of my daughters just how much trafficking occurs, not only in the United States, but in New Mexico and in Albuquerque. And for those of you that are not local and you're watching on live stream, I'm telling you that no matter where you are, whatever the tiniest little town you're in, it's happening there as well. So I'm sorry, it's hard to hear, but it's true. So you need to know that so you understand why we're talking about that it's real. So that became, in that meeting, the moment I thought we were just going to be philanthropic and get behind what she was doing, and I was fine with that. But she told us we needed to have a house. Not us personally, but they needed to have a house. So I left there, and I spent the next year studying and traveling and training to open what would be Freedom House. And that's what we did. For 3 years, we had a home for adults, survivors of sex trafficking. And we learned so much, number one, in the training, but we learned so much when we took care of these amazing women. Have y'all put that up there yet? I'm talking nonstop. There we go. I want you to know that these are real, wonderful, amazing, loving, strong, courageous women. The ones that you can see the faces of are staff, people that lived in the home or worked in the home over those 3 years. And what we learned while we were in that home and during those 3 years is just how vulnerable each one of those young people were, either as children or somewhere in their, mid-12s to whatever, and then going into their young adult life, they actually continued to be vulnerable. And so Freedom House, when we wound down and ended up closing Freedom House January 2019, and it's because it is a hot bunch of money to run a house. It's about $180,000 to $200,000 a year to run one home. And so we had to start thinking, my husband, who is watching me, I love you. Sorry, he is so cute. So I need to get focused. Okay, anyway, so he came to me and he said, you know what, honey, we're going to have to wind this down, and we're going to need to use money in a way that it will affect more lives. So I had been holding Freedom House like this. I really believed on 20 acres we would open more homes. And so I had to unwad my hand and begin to think, what would that be? What would that be? Because I felt so strongly that's what we were supposed to do. And what it ended up changing into is that as we were closing the house, we realized that those people were vulnerable again. We should have never thought we could do this. I can't believe you're closing this house. And these are phase 3 survivors, people who had been with us for quite a while. But it shook them to the core that we were going to close the home, and then where would we be? Where were we going to go? How were they going to do it on their own? So we said, you're not going to do it on your own. And that's when we developed phase 3. And what we do now is we partner with other organizations who have phase 3 survivors. Those have already been rescued. They've already come out of that lifestyle, however that happened. And they've gone through whatever drug detox they needed to. They've started counseling. Phase 2, they end up going into whatever college or studies. They begin to decide what they'd like to do with their life. And then phase 3, that's when they're ready to start thinking about independent living. And so phase 3 monies are so these other organizations and our own can help finance these other places that have money for the rescue. Maybe they have money for phase 1 and 2, but to be honest, people think that once these girls get through to phase 3, they should be just fine, happily ever after. That is not what happens. So we have to be there for them. Anybody in this room and anybody online that has college-age kids, when they leave your house to go to college, they still need you. They absolutely do. So imagine somebody that's been through this much trauma, and every story is different. Imagine them thinking that they wouldn't have continued support. So that's what we do now. One part of what we do is the phase 3 part of it. And then the other part is what became Vulnerable No More. And so I'm going to shift now and talk about my own personal reason for vulnerable. Who made up that name? I'm kidding. It works, right? We don't want to be vulnerable. So just slow down, say it slowly. So during training that year, especially when I was going to all these other programs, all these states, their homes, one of my daughters and I went to Beautiful Dreams Society in Oklahoma City twice, and we met some amazing people. But during all of those places we visited, I began to realize that there was so much stuff in my own past. And if sex trafficking had been a thing back then, I would have been sex trafficked. So it went different for me. I'm 61 years old, so people weren't trafficking people like they are now. but they were using people for their own consumption. And so as I started thinking about my own story, it developed into my own why, my why, because you have to have your personal why to do this with your life. It becomes a calling is what happens. And so there's 3 different reasons why I do this now. I realized that as a 4-year-old, when I was molested for the first time, that really set me up for such a life of, I can't even tell you, it's almost like if you were to get Giardia and be infested with like either poison or something living in you. When something like that happens to you, it becomes part of who you are. And there's no way I could have known that that's the reason, or many reasons. My mother was abusive and my father was alcoholic. But those things, the multiple traumas that happened to me, and especially from that day as a 4-year-old, actually is what made me vulnerable at 11 years old to use drugs and start drinking. And so from 11 to 20, I was a lunatic, and I had no idea why. I had no idea why I was self-medicating. But as I went to that training and I started thinking about it and learning about that, and then, of course, as we met those wonderful women you saw pictures of, it became so evident to me that that's exactly why. Not just are trafficking victims vulnerable, but my 61-year-old self, back as a 4-year-old, began to start becoming vulnerable. And so why be surprised if you're the one in the room that gets drugged every time? You know, why would I be surprised that that happened? But nobody ever explained it to me back then. But now I know. And so what I'm determined to do now with that information is I'm going to share it with every single person. We'll stop for 1 second and listen to me. And I want you to know that my reasons, the first one is actually 3 little girls. I want you to know that that little girl on the left is me. I was 4 years old, and that's the year I was molested. So I'm doing, these are my sisters, by the way, but knowing that that's happened to people in this room, and no matter where I speak, no matter where I present, I know there's people in the room sometimes who are being trafficked. I know there's people in the room who have been molested. And I know that there's so many listed traumas, which are traumatic events, which we'll go over later, that are layered into this room. So I'm doing it for the people in that group that are 60 now, okay, that have already gone through that. Then I'm also doing it for my daughters. These are my girls. And I'm telling you right now, if it hair lips the Pope, and I hope that doesn't offend anybody, but I'm doing it for my girls. I will do that for my girls, and I raise my girls like that. They will not be vulnerable to exploitation and manipulation. They will not. And lastly, my grandbabies. And I'm telling you to do it for your reasons. You may not have children. You may not have grandchildren, but you have sisters and mothers. You have relatives that you can learn these things. Do it for yourself so that you can begin to heal. So I want to say that on September 7th, 1980, as a 20-year-old, I finally made my way into a church. And I began to heal then, have continued to do so. And I'm in a place right now, I can't even tell you, it has been amazing when I figured out that there was a God who loved me and that I could heal from all the things that happened to me growing up. So you're free to believe any way you want to. I'm telling you my story is that was the day that I began to heal. So I want you to know that we are going to explain your vulnerabilities in case you haven't thought about it, red flags, tools and action steps. Then we're also going to have some survivor videos. These precious women spoke from their hearts. There's 3 of them. Such courageous nerve, and they're precious, precious women. So you need to know these are their stories, and they're speaking to you as they would to their younger selves, to their sisters, to people they love, to try to just give you warnings that are real. These are people who lived through some horrific, horrific things. So we honor them, we love them, and we respect them, and we do know all of them so that you know. I also want you to know that I need to hear you say, you're ready. Are you ready? Are you ready? We've got a lot to cover, so let's go. Thank y'all.
By the time that I met my trafficker, I was addicted to meth, and he recognized that, and he was a drug dealer, amongst other things, and he preyed on my weaknesses. I was destitute at that time. I was bulimic. I was suicidal. I was really just on the very last rung, about to completely lose my mind, and when he found me, I felt like he rescued me. And he took me in and put me in a hotel room and took care of me, and in my mind was protecting me. And in many ways I thought that he was saving my life, and I was truly being isolated and cut off from the world around me. I was not able to make phone calls that were not supervised. I was not able to have the phone without his presence. There were many red flags that I was not paying attention to because of the way that my addiction took over my senses, really, and the way that if something did stick out in my mind, I would not look at it because I was thinking, oh, he's saving me though, or he's protecting me though, oh, but he loves me though because he was my boyfriend, and there's no way that he would be doing me harm. And for the better part of a year, he fed me, clothed me, sheltered me, and made me feel special, protected, and cared for, until one day he invited a couple into our hotel room and shared with me that that couple had bought me for the night and that they were intending to have sex with me that night. Whether I wanted to participate or not, that was not up for question. That continued for several months, situations like that. Sometimes he would stay, sometimes he wouldn't stay. Sometimes he would sell me to his drug dealer buddies. Sometimes he would sell me to his cartel buddies. Sometimes he would use me as collateral.
So once again, I just want to thank you all for being here. That is one of the reasons Toya was saying that I was brought in, was to bring more of a lighthearted, I hope I can do that, but also I was asked to share my why for why I'm a part of this event. A vulnerable no more. And as I was thinking about that, the first time we did vulnerable no more, I just knew I wanted to be a part of this movement to push back against human trafficking and what's happening to women, to men, boys, and kids. And the second, after seeing what happened in the first event, I was even more convinced, because what you're going to hear tonight and what you're going to hear through what we're doing with Vulnerable No More is so helpful. And it's stuff that as I listened, I thought, why aren't more people hearing this? Why is this information not more available to everyone? Because it's just so helpful and so needed. And no better place than in Albuquerque, New Mexico to start. But enough about me. Thanks for hearing my why. But the next guest that we have is the incredible Rosalind Gallegos, who's going to be speaking to us on what we're calling Human Trafficking 101. She's a social worker. She provides services for at-risk youth and is an advocate for victims of human trafficking and women exploited by the sex industry. Go ahead and turn your attention to Rosalind Gallegos.
Toya, first I just want to say thank you so much for having faith in me to come and help you spread your message, and thank you for having my daughter here as well. So this is going to be hard to hear, but these are the facts. 1 in 5 women in the United States experience completed or attempted rape during their lifetime. 1 in 7 women have been injured by an intimate partner. In 2020, of the nearly 26,500 missing children reported to the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, 1 in 6 were victims of sex trafficking. 83% of victims in confirmed sex trafficking incidents were identified as U.S. citizens. On average, there are 463,634 victims aged 12 or older of rape and sexual assault each year in the United States. Online forms of sex trafficking increased by more than 45% during the COVID-19 pandemic. Child sex trafficking is the fastest growing crime in the world. I'm going to say that again. Child sex trafficking is the fastest growing crime in the world. So let's take a breath, because that was a lot. These facts highlight our vulnerabilities. They are the indisputable proof that human trafficking and the victimization of women and children exists. These facts serve as evidence that we are currently fighting an uphill battle to protect ourselves, our children, and our communities. These facts show us that not only does the trafficking of children exist, but the trafficking of children is prominent. Human trafficking is happening here in our state, in our city, and in our community. It's closer to home than you think. Many of us sitting here today could say that we have all survived an adverse experience in our lives. Whether we were abused, living with a diagnosis, overcoming addiction, or becoming housed for the first time, we have all been through things that have exposed our vulnerabilities and demanded our resilience. In fact, the Adverse Childhood Experiences Survey states that 1 in 4 adults in New Mexico has experienced 4 or more adverse childhood experiences. These things range from verbal and physical abuse to sexual abuse and witnessing domestic violence. The ACEs study indicates that adverse childhood experiences have an impact on mental and physical health. They also increase things like heart disease and substance abuse. The thing is, I could stand up here and I could cite all of these statistics to you, but all of you can relate to these numbers. As parents, we can research and download the latest app to protect ourselves and our children from predators. We can do all of these things with diligence and the best of intentions, but even with those efforts, there's something missing. What people do not tell you about human trafficking is that perpetrators are not going to come in the middle of the night to kidnap your kids. Traffickers use communication skills, charm, manipulation, and our vulnerabilities to exploit our children. Traffickers are not common criminals. When it comes to having the power and control needed to coerce victims into sex trafficking, it's important to note that individuals who exploit children have very good communication and interpersonal skills. They are able to talk their way through many situations, and they use words and promises to exploit our vulnerabilities. They're very versatile in their criminal behavior. They are intelligent, and they have the ability to fly under the radar to avoid detection as they carry out their crimes. Traffickers are not the boogeyman. They do not drive vans and pass out candy on your street, and they're not the creepy man in the park that promised your child a puppy. Individuals who exploit children and the men who buy children for sex have jobs. They have families, and they often interact with high-ranking officials. What may shock you even further is that men are not the only gender involved in the trafficking of children. Women have also been convicted of selling children for sex. When we look at the tactics used in human trafficking and the exploitation of our children, we see patterns of force, fraud, and coercion. Victims are coerced and forced into trafficking through methods that have been defined by traumatic bonding. So this is where it gets really important. There are 7 distinctive stages of traumatic bonding. They include 1, love bombing. It's being showered with love and flattery, and I think that all of us can relate to a longing for love or wanting to be seen and heard. trust, and dependency. The trafficker does whatever is necessary to gain your trust and make you dependent on their validation. Then comes the gradual criticism, blame, and demands. And for some of us who may not have known what healthy love is like, this probably seems like a small sacrifice. Gaslighting, using blame and manipulation to make you believe that their narrative is true. Resigning to control and giving in to demands in hopes of returning to that love you experienced in the first stage. Loss of self. I think this is self-explanatory, and I think many of us can relate to a time in our lives where we may not have been able to find ourselves or where we felt lost. Addiction. Becoming addicted to the highs and lows. Your brain and body change. They adjust to the anxiety and all of the stress, and even the neural pathways in your brain change. Despite all of this, I want to remind you that there's hope, and there's a way to avoid this. This is your story, and you get to choose how many times you want to relive it. My therapist said this to me when I worked on my vulnerabilities. And this statement is so profound because it demands that all of us take back our power. We can choose how many times we are going to relive the story of our ancestors. We can choose to recognize our vulnerabilities and create opportunities to live a different story. First, we can educate ourselves about the realities of human trafficking, mental health, prevention strategies in our homes and communities. We can work to understand resources and organizations within our community that can help us access services for our entire family. We can teach our children strong boundaries and create safe spaces in our home where there is no shame allowed. We can choose to be honest, and as hard as it is, we can avoid sugarcoating things for our kids. Knowledge and truth are power. We can be open about our vulnerabilities and emotions as parents because acknowledging that it's okay to need help is where we create relationships that help our children flourish. We can choose to create space for our children to ask questions, even though a lot of those questions are going to be uncomfortable. And lastly, we can become a village for one another. We can write a different story for our kids. I'd like to end our time with a letter written by a survivor that is now living her new life. I once had a house, and it had 4 walls. The walls had names. They were names like fear, anger, hopelessness, and shame. I lived in this house for 3 years. Each day I woke up and put on my face and prepared to sell the only thing I had to survive, my body. It didn't matter that my body wasn't beautiful. It had bruises and marks, and there were obvious signs of wear and evidence of the life I was living. Sadly for me, there was no clock in my house. Each day flowed into the next, and there was no end in sight. That was until I met my Savior. At the time I met her, she was about as big as a pinky fingernail. I did not know much about her other than I had to run to whatever she was to become. So I ran as hard and fast as I could. After 9 months, she and I met in person, and now we have a house together. It has 4 walls. They also have names. They have names like love, courage, forgiveness, and strength. The thing I love most about this new house is that there are windows and doors that let light in. Outside, there is a yard where there's no shame allowed, and only beautiful memories grow because it rains compassion. Each time we step into our yard, I remember that there are no more chains to keep me trapped, and we can come and go as we please. Those 4 walls are our safe space now. Someday, my Savior will build her own house. The walls in that house will have names, and because of all that we have been through together, they will have names like knowledge, power, resilience, and faith. I'd like to introduce you to my why and the person who saved my life, my daughter. Thank you.
That was absolutely incredible. Go ahead and give another round of applause for Rosalind. That was beautiful. Oh my goodness. All right. Next, we do have another letter that's going to be read by the wonderful Deb Solon. Not only was she selected because she's an incredible reader, but Deb has been involved with the Freedom House that was talked about earlier by Toya, which is a transitional living program, and has been with the program ever since. Take it away, Deb.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Deb Sullen, and tonight I get the privilege of sharing the story of a young lady who most of us with For the One knows and loves with all our heart. As I share her story, I just ask you to listen to her heart. She's written it especially for you tonight. My story, where to begin? I'm just going to ramble so I can get it out. I feel like it's so important to share what the Lord has done for me and how he has worked in my life. With my rough past and how the Lord worked to bring me out is truly an amazing story. A huge piece I took away and I want to share was being able to talk to someone about what is going on. It needs to be talked about. Being afraid of retaliation or being ashamed was a huge piece of why I never wanted to reach out to someone and talk about what was happening. But what the Lord and people have taught me is that God will protect me and his plan for my life. I am forgiven, I am worthy, and I am loved. Everyone has a past and has done something they are not proud of. Do not be afraid to reach out to someone and talk about it. God can put people in your life you can trust and that can help you. They cannot help you if they don't know what's going on. I was being trafficked and was running with the worst of people. I was caught up in a lifestyle and was doing so many bad things. By that time in my life, it just seemed normal to me. And I didn't know how to function as a normal, productive member of society. It had been 12 years of me living that lifestyle. So how I was living was my normal. Always being afraid of the men in my life was also something I got used to. This was just how they all were. Then I did something stupid that landed me in jail. And the whole time God was at work. I was on the streets, really bad off, and really addicted to drugs. I think by that point, going to jail was a relief. At least in there, I was not getting beat or abused. I had a warm bed to sleep in, a shower, and was fed 3 times a day. Going to jail was a welcome break for me at that time. At that point, I wanted to just be with my son, to not be selling myself, to quit drugs. I wanted to get out of that lifestyle and was praying and reading the Bible every day. I kept asking God to make a way for me. However hard I had to work, I wanted to do it, and so he did. Law enforcement ended up finding me and wanted to help. They knew I was in a bad situation with a really bad guy. They ended up putting me in contact with a group of wonderful ladies and a residential program that would save my life. I got the help and the healing I needed for 2 years with them and was able to get back on my feet. I now have a great relationship with my son. I am working 2 full-time jobs doing what I love. I have a roof over my head and I'm able to fill my fridge with groceries. Going to jail and kicking an addiction in there was hard. I was in there for 4 months, but I was where the Lord needed me to be to move in my life. I am not sure law enforcement or anyone would have found me any other way. Even in the hard times, don't be afraid to let the Lord work in your life. I have God, the church family, my family and friends surrounding me and loving me daily. A huge change from the abuse I was living in before. Life can get better. Sometimes the hard is necessary, first for you to reach the joy. Push through. God has a plan for you. He wants to use you. Thank you.
If you ever come in contact with a trafficker or a recruiter, they're going to, most of the time, paint this picture for you that is glamorous. They're going to glamorize that life, that you're going to be traveling the country, seeing things you've never seen before. You're going to be going on shopping sprees, making a lot of money. You're going to only do this for a little while to get you where you really want to be in life, and that one day you're going to have these businesses and you're not going to have to do what you do now. They're going to point out things you may already do. If you're already having sex, they're going to say you're already doing it for free. You might as well get paid for it. And they're going to just make it seem like they're just going to save you and you're going to have this great life. And of course they're going to leave out all of the horrible, unspeakable things they're going to do to you, and that will be done to you in that life. And I'm speaking from experience. I had 3 different traffickers, but they were all the same person. They just had a different face. They had girls that recruited me, and I also recruited girls for them. I would recruit girls on social media by pointing out their insecurities by the things and pictures they would post, and I would prey on that, and especially if they were complaining all the time, and I would just be there for them, tell them what I thought they wanted to hear, and form these relationships with them. And I would make it seem like they were going to be able to help their family and take care of their family and do things they haven't been able to do before. And I would do the same for my friends, and I would recruit them by telling them these trips I was going on and all this money I was making, and that they could have a better life for their kids and be there for them like they aren't able to be now, and that we were going to have this great life together in hopes that one day we would have a better life and not have to do these things anymore. And I'm here to tell you that that life is counterfeit, that most of it is a lie, and just as fast as it comes is just as fast as it goes, and that it is painted as this glamorous life, but there's nothing glamorous about it, and that it's just going to be temporary. But you'll think you're just going to be doing it for a couple years, and a couple years turns into 10 years, 20 years, and it's so much harder to get out once you're sucked in. And I don't want you to go through that. That life fills these temporary voids that fade away and that can never fill you and truly satisfy you. But I want you to know, and I really want you to get this, that Jesus, He can satisfy the deepest longing in your heart. Every void you have in your heart, He can fill it. If you just surrender your life to Him, He can heal every wound, no matter how deep. He will be there for you at your darkest hour, and He can change your life. If you just seek Him and surrender your life to Him, every void that life promises to fill, that the world promises to fill, is false and temporary. But if you surrender your life to Him, that void is eternal. He has an eternal void that can fill your deepest longing. Seek Him and give Him a try.
Wow. So I told you that we asked them to share their hearts, and you can imagine the kind of courage that must have taken for them to do that. I will tell you, the last girl, she sent me 21 videos, and she wept through so much of it. I'm sorry, I watched them all. So I heard pieces of her story that were so intensely hard to hear, but she just shared from her guts what she's been through. And before we get started, I just want to point out one main thing. Her person that recruited her was a female, and she became a recruiter. So she was the person who went out and recruited other people. We're going to talk about that in a minute,
Right,
but we
right.
cannot stereotype, like, or stereotypical, only the pictures you see on television. We can't do that. We can't get stuck there. I want you to broaden your mind. That's how they're getting our kids. A bunch of these people send females. So, this
Yeah.
is Michelle Schroff, one of my best friends.
Yes.
Why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, me and my husband, Clay, we have a couple of organizations, Aspen. We come alongside families that are in need of help and really trying to get ahead of the curve so that children are not at risk in their homes. And then we have Zoe, where we help young ladies between the ages of 12 and 25. And that's how we met at our grand opening about 7 years ago. And when you asked me to do this piece for 15 minutes, I thought this will be the shortest conversation you and I have ever had.
Ever.
So-
Unless we're texting.
That's right. So we better get started because
Yes.
when you presented me with this, I thought, what a great concept to have a conversation, because this needs to be a conversation. It needs to be something that we feel comfortable talking with each other about,
Right.
whether it be girlfriends, whether it be, with my daughters. I have 6 daughters. And, it's so relevant. It's so important that we are not just brushing over it and going, oh, in Cambodia this happens. This happens here. This happens in churches. So the breaking it down portion of this, I really, really want everyone to hear that when you leave, continue the conversation, please. Don't stop talking. Continue talking. What does your relationship look like with the young man or young woman that you're dating or that you're seeing or talking to? How did you guys get into your relationship? Was it through DM? Have you met in person? These are really important questions that you need to ask your children. You need to ask your grandkids. You need to ask your nieces and nephews. So this is why I was on fire to do this. I wanted to talk about recruitment. I want to talk about groomers and traffickers and predators, and just the whole idea that Rosalind was bringing up, love bombing. I mean, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. So, if you could just quickly go through with us, because, what is grooming?
And so that is important to understand, because there's a grooming with a young child where an adult is trying to get them comfortable with certain things that they're doing to them. The grooming with the girls that we've seen and the adults that we've seen is where they befriend them, they make them comfortable with them, they buy them things, begin to gift them things to win their heart. They begin to push away whatever support system, healthy support system that they have in their lives, and quarantine them off where they begin to believe that they're really the only ones that care about them. So it is actually just a big farce, and they'll spend, I've heard of it being up to a year that they've invested in children and young adults to actually, over that time of patience, convince them that they're the only ones that will love them and care for them. So we need to understand they're grooming them in such a way that when they've won their heart, they can ask them to do anything.
Yeah.
And that is, it's, again, to your point, and actually Rosalind talked about it too, there's a very minor circumstances where children in the United States are kidnapped and trafficked. Mm-hmm. Much, much more, it's that their hearts have been won by a lying liar who has convinced them that they're the only one that they can trust in their lives and depend on. So that's the grooming process. Right. They want you to believe that, and the videos explained it, I'll care for you, and in some cases, I'll make sure you have the drugs you want. Yeah. I'll get your nails done. A lot of our girls that we either didn't work with directly but indirectly work with, and a couple we did work with, just a Hello Kitty, toy, or their nails being done when they were children would be the types of things that would bring them into this kind of control. Yeah. And so, yes, there's recruiters, and these jobs that are on the paperwork, traffickers, recruiters, and groomers, are frequently intermingled, they're mixed, but I wanted you to get comfortable with those terms so you begin to understand that. But on the list, when you get home and have a minute to look at it, these are all predators, manipulators, controllers, and they're not just sex traffickers. There are relationships. We're trying to keep some of these people, like me. I was never sex trafficked, but people certainly controlled me, and they certainly used me for their own self-consumption. So we're trying to stop that.
Yeah, that's right.
If 1 in 6 or whatever, and I'm not going to do statistics right now, but if 1 in 6, just for example, might ever be trafficked, we're talking our clients, our girls that we loved, 3.9 out of every 4 of the people we worked with and talked to had sexual abuse in their history. 3.9 out of every 4. Those recruiters, groomers, traffickers were looking for any brokenness that would cause a young person to be vulnerable. If that, as the girl said on here, and I don't want to give her name away, but as she said, I saw posts and I knew what I was looking for. The girls that were complaining on there, if they see, it's like a shark in the water. They smell the blood. And so they know what to look for. And I've talked to her since, and we're going to develop an actual segment that's going to specifically talk about what exactly they're looking for in your children and you young people that are in here. They're online looking to see. They go through and they troll. They look through and they look through. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. There are so many people that expose their lives online.
Well, and you know, there's something that I would always tell my children, that adults are not friends with children. You are not to be friends with an adult. And I think that a lot of times children feel really special when an adult speaks into their lives or tells them, you know, how smart they are, or, you know, let's spend time together. And I think that that's a huge, at least in my situation, I was preyed upon by a family member, and it was very much, after, you know, I was vulnerable. My parents divorced. We were homeless. We were moving around to different homes and apartments and hotels. So when I think back, and I just go, gosh, I just wanted someone to understand me. And this person pretended to understand, then they really didn't. They, you know, there was something that they wanted to consume from me. And I like that you guys had talked about that this is a matter of you are being consumed. You are wanting to be owned so that you can be given to someone else for their purpose. They will profit from it. And you know, when we think of human trafficking, it's just this huge deal. But it starts in the home. It starts with how we're speaking to our children. You know, the boundaries that our children have in place. You know, if an adult is touching them or putting their hands on them, you know, you can tell when your children are uncomfortable, and you empower your child. Yet tell him to take his hand off of your leg. Do not touch me. Do not do that to me. And I think that we're so busy teaching our kids to be kind and polite that we're failing them as far as protecting them from those that are trying to groom.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and that's a great point, because they are going to come in and be charming. You know, we hear stories in the news all the time where this has happened, where somebody, they don't come in like with horns and a pitchfork. They probably have one somewhere, but they don't come in looking like that. So if you set aside preconceived ideas of what you think that's supposed to look like, this is not the movie Taken.
Right.
You know, this is people. We have somebody in our family who ended up with a narcissist, and we didn't see that coming until later. We were just going, that's what that is. You need to educate yourself and understand that there are shared personalities between sex traffickers, recruiters, groomers, and abusive domestic violence relationships. They prey upon people who have had things happen in their past, and so they have vulnerabilities, and they're looking for those. It's the same thing if I go out in my parking lot right now, fiddling in my purse, can't find my keys, texting on my phone. I'm vulnerable in that parking lot. The kids are in the same situation when they're sharing things online, Instagram, TikTok,
Right.
all this direct messaging that's happening right now. And we are going to develop a future class on that.
Yeah.
We're going to get really specific.
So important.
Right.
So
Parents and
important.
kids need to understand it.
Yes, and I think especially parents, before you hand your child a smart device, you need to go through it. You need to look at the apps. You need to make sure that you know the ins and outs of it before you're handing that to your child. Because, I mean, you just even think physiologically your child's brain is not fully developed, and the things that they're looking at and how it's shaping and molding and just the neural pathways and everything. And it blows my mind that we can just hand that over to a child.
And you need to know, to your point, Michelle, that it's as young, well, it's way younger, but 12, 14-year-olds up to really 25-ish, and it's because the brain is not fully developed yet. I'm not saying traffickers go, oh, when she turns 26, I can't talk to her.
Right.
But I'm saying that they understand that age group is easiest to manipulate.
Right.
Easiest to manipulate. So think about that when you're giving a cell phone to them.
That's right.
They're not ready to think through the outcome of that.
And who is on the other end of that, you don't know.
Which is so many times.
You don't
I'm
know.
telling you right now from our own research and what we've dealt
Yeah.
with personally, so many of these people talking to your kids
Yeah.
are not who they say they are. So, and they want them in the grooming process to get to the point where they will send them pictures.
Yeah.
If you love me,
That's
if
right.
you love me,
Yes.
you'll send me that picture, won't
That's
you?
right.
And then
That's right.
later, I'm going to tell your mom and your dad that you sent me those pictures. We're going to do a class. I
Yeah.
hope you'll come for that one so
Yeah.
you understand it more.
That's right. That's right. And you guys have some action steps that I think are really important as far as ignoring the red flags. For me, that's huge. Talking to your kids. If someone says this to you, or even in friendships, when they're on the playground, or, your daughter's in college and she's, sharing something with you, you go, wait a minute. In our house, we have red and yellow flags. There's a yellow, caution. He said what to you? You need to remember that yellow flag. And sometimes it's just a yellow flag. You can toss it over your shoulder, but you need to be constantly paying attention to those things. And then, of course, the doubting and second guessing. Everybody makes mistakes. Well, okay, your first week of dating someone, there's a bunch of mistakes, then maybe you shouldn't be dating him,
Right.
Or her.
My friends think he's okay. My
Yeah.
friends know him. I know grown-up women that are like, well, everybody else thinks he's okay. I'm like, but you don't.
That's right.
You feel something in here. Something is wrong. I can't
That's right.
tell you how many times I knew better. I knew it, and I ignored it. If you won't do that, if you'll go, no, even if I'm wrong, it's better that I question that and get away from that person. So I can
Well, and
tell
I think,
you.
too, just even, going on to the next step of telling someone you trust, because if you're telling someone you trust, they're going to be honest with you. Go to your mom, go to your grandma, go to your aunt, go to someone that knows you and that loves you and that wants the best for you. Because I know when my daughters come to me, or when anyone comes to me, I'm like, okay, I need to be careful because I am very protective.
She is. I'm telling you right now, I love her.
I will cut you.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
then, of course, our past traumas. I'm going to be 50 years old, and I just telling my kids, I said, wow, I should probably start going to therapy. There's a lot of stuff going on. And I see in my kids, and I just go, I want to make sure that this doesn't get passed on and manifest into something else in my children, and that's just speaking from my perspective, not necessarily even someone that is younger that realizes I've got this happening right now. And then, of course, you need to defend yourself. You need to be able to say, no, absolutely not. You're not going there. You're not saying that to me. You're going to respect me. And if you're not going to respect me, hit the door.
And like you would somebody else, because my big problem was I would jump you and kill you for her, for my
Right.
family, for my friends. But when it came to me, I shut down. I don't know if anybody else in here does that, but I shut down. I had to learn to stop that. So I
Yeah.
kickbox. Yeah.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And even the setting deal breakers and boundaries before something happens. Knowing that maybe my last relationship, this happened, and it was hard for me to acknowledge. No, when I go into this, if he keeps calling me and telling me how much he loves me and wants me to come over, it's a no. I'm not doing that again.
Yep. Set those boundaries up ahead of time. It's like a
Yeah.
fire drill.
Yeah, that's
What
right.
is my reaction if somebody does that?
That's right.
Stop posting photos and
Yeah.
comments that make you appear needy.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. I mean, you feel like you're sharing the moment. They're looking for you to do that, and they know you're vulnerable when you do. A girl and a guy will see that as a vulnerability. I'm
Yeah.
not saying don't take pictures with friends. I'm not saying don't ever take a fun video, but that is one of the main things they're looking
That's
for.
right.
Don't share your location. If you don't have it already on your phones, to stop sharing location. Nobody needs to know but your close family and friends where you
That's right.
are. And have a safety plan in place. Hey, roommate, hey, mom, if I say this, one of my
Right.
girls on the front row here said, if I say, Mom, I can't do that, you back me, or it's not okay if I do that, right, Danny? It's not okay if I spend the night, right? That's not okay with you, right? It's not. It's not okay.
Absolutely
Something's
not.
going on over there. No, I'm coming for you. And I'll come in the middle of the night. Go get your kids in the middle of the night if you need to. They should be able to call you 24/7 if they.
That's right.
You can be their excuse.
That's right.
And then be a voice and a champion for yourself and
And
others.
others, that's right. And become an expert. Know these things. Know them like the back of your hand. Know, I can't do that, or that just doesn't seem right. And for me, I'm a huge, I process out loud. So when I'm having conversation, that's why this I felt was so important, because when I'm processing out loud, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't sound right, does it? So get with your people, talk with your people.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
I appreciate
absolutely.
you, Michelle. I could talk to her all night, but we need to move on to the next person.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Appreciate y'all. I love you.
Yes, love you.
Go ahead and keep giving it up. Tell me this is not amazing. We have amazing speakers and amazing things being shared with us, right? So it's my privilege to introduce to you our next guest, Shirley Howard. This is a woman who has deep and amazing faith in God and His Word. And I got to hear just 30 seconds of her speaking earlier tonight, and I'm convinced that her absolute confidence in Him will bring you to new levels of your own walk of faith, wherever you may be at. So give it up for Shirley Howard.
Amen, amen. Good evening, ladies. Can I tell you, for the first thing, you are not here by accident. It is ordained by God that you be in the place that you're in. Anytime that you're in a place where God is moving to bring aid to you in circumstances and situations, especially like what we're talking about tonight, traffickers are looking for your vulnerabilities. They're looking to target you based on where and what you are vulnerable to. So the best thing that I can do to help you is to empower you with a strategy that will help you be your best defense against a trafficker. And if you're going to be your best defense against a trafficker, you're going to have to be the person to put up that defense. There's a small statement in the English language. It has 2 words and 3 letters. It's probably one of the smallest statements that you'll ever hear. But that statement is repeated time and time and time and time and time again in a wedding ceremony between a man and a woman who are about to engage in a covenant. 2 little words. One of the words only has 1 letter, and the other word only has 2 letters. 3 letters with 2 words. Anybody know what that statement is? I do. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I do. You might say 2 words with 3 letters, but I promise you, your life from that moment on will change. Your name changes. Where you live changes. Your status changes. Your life changes. So if a statement that has 2 words and 3 letters can make that much difference in the life of a man or a woman with regards to marriage, do you think that it might be able to make a difference in your life where human trafficking is concerned? I think so, Shirley, but how? You make the same covenant with God that you make with a husband or a wife. Say, I do to God. I do what? I do want my life to be as healthy as you desire for my life to be. And in order for your life to be as healthy as God desires for your life to be, you need truth. So what I want to talk to you tonight is about truth. I do. Did you put the I up there? The I in this strategy is for identify. Identify your own vulnerabilities. Don't wait for a trafficker to target you with your vulnerabilities. Get alone with God and say, God, why am I vulnerable in the areas that I'm vulnerable? Let me tell you where vulnerabilities come from. We are human beings, and we all consist of 3 things. Our lives are a conglomeration of what we have experienced or not, what we have been exposed to or not, and what we have encountered or not. Because all of us, we're like fingerprints. No 2 of us will ever experience, encounter, or be exposed to the same things, but all of us will experience things. Some good, some not so good. Some of them that we experience, some things that we experience are the result of our decisions. Some things that we experience are the result of someone else's choosing. But we don't have to live our lives as victims because of what we've experienced, what we've been exposed to, and what we have encountered. But what we do need to get figured out is what these experiences, these exposures, and these encounters have made us vulnerable to. So you get along with God and you say, I want to identify my vulnerabilities. Get your things identified. Get a piece of paper. Write them down between you and God. What makes me vulnerable? When I was a child, did I get the attention that I need? Did I get the love that I need? Did I get the care that I need? Did I get what I needed? Were things done to me that should have been, or were things done to me that shouldn't have been? Where did this vulnerability in me come from? Get that identified. Here are some of the things that you can look at on this list: history of childhood, physical or sexual abuse, intergenerational trauma, mental health issues or disorders. This is a list of some of the things. This is some of the things, but you know there's so many things that create in us vulnerabilities. You got to acknowledge that you have vulnerabilities. I'm not vulnerable. I'm all right. I'm good. I got this. No, maybe you just don't have it as well as you think you do. And you may need to just get along with God and say, God, where are my vulnerabilities? But once you get them identified, don't sweep them under the rug. Well, I just don't want to deal with that because, you know, this happened 15 years ago, 10 years, 30 years. Well, you know. And anyways, I don't want to deal with it. You better deal with it, because if you don't deal with it, it will deal with you. I promise you. It will come knocking at your door in your weakest moment, at your weakest time. It is looking to bring destruction, disaster, and defeat into your life. You will need to get your vulnerabilities dealt with. No better way to deal with your vulnerabilities than with the Word of God. You know, when I was a kid, I just didn't like outside in the dark. I don't know, you know, it's dark outside at night in the dark. I thought scary things happened. And as an adult, I grew up with that same thing. Don't ever go outside in the dark. When I got born again and got saved, the Lord told me to go outside one night and empty the trash. No, see, we don't do that. We don't go outside in the dark at night. But then the Lord spoke to me from a scripture in Psalm 34 that says, I sought the Lord and he heard me and delivered me from all of my fears. And I said, now I got to live by what I feel or by what this word says. So if the word has delivered me, that's the truth. Me being afraid is against the truth. So somewhere I got to find the strength to deal with where I'm vulnerable with the truth. and so will you. You got to deal with it. Then you got to understand that you have the innate ability to overcome. You're an overcomer in this life. You are a victor, not a victim. It doesn't matter where your vulnerability came from. All of us have vulnerabilities. But you have the ability inside of you to overcome anything that this world throws at you, especially if you have a relationship with God. But can I tell you, even if you don't, when God created man in the very beginning, he gave man dominion. Now, this dominion came before the relationship that man would have with Jesus, because a lot of us say, well, you got to know Jesus to have power and strength. Yeah, you do. But guess what? Even as an unborn again man, you have dominion in this life. And I strongly suggest that you take the dominion that you use and you overcome your vulnerabilities. Because when a trafficker looks at you, you shouldn't be walking around looking like, oh, poor, woe is me. I just don't know where I'm going to get anything. You just put your head up. Pay attention. Realize who you are in God. Because your greatest defense against a human trafficker is your knowledge and your understanding of your own vulnerabilities. Get them identified, I. Get them dealt with, D. Overcome them by the power that resonates in you, and you'll walk free. If you know of kids, teenagers, neighbors, share this with them. Share with them truth that will help them at an early age to walk according to who they are. Amen. I just hope that this word, it's simple. We all remember that when you go to a wedding, you hear, I do. Just remember that for me, put your hand on your heart. Say, for me, I must identify, deal with, and overcome my own vulnerabilities. Amen. Do that.
What I would tell my younger self is that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, that you have a divine purpose. I would warn myself of the boys who pressure you into sex. They don't care for you and they are only using you. Sex does not equal love. You are more than an object for someone else's gratification. Your true friends will build you up. They won't tear you down and make you feel less than. If you have things going on at home, don't be afraid to ask for help. Please reach out to a trusted adult or a trusted individual and tell them what's going on. Be brave. The hole that you're trying to fill, the emptiness and the longing, the only thing that can fill that hole is Jesus. If you are going through depression, suicidal thoughts, if you're cutting yourself, these are not normal teenage experiences. And if you are going through this, ask for help. There are people out there that would love to help you and that want to help you. You have a divine purpose and you were destined for greatness.
All right, ladies, it's that point of the night. We are down to our last presenter. Now, something special about this presenter. I'm actually terrified of her. She's super sweet, wonderfully nice. But I was told when I first agreed to do this that I might be thrown on the ground. So I wore my stretchy suit, like I said earlier. Thankfully, that's not going to happen because her dad showed up. So you saved my bacon wherever you ran off to. This woman is incredible. She runs Global One Defense here out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And she is here to help you as women find your voice and instill in you the confidence to be warrior women. Give it up for Rachel Chance.
Hey guys. Well, I am here to tell you how to use your voice. All of us are really good at using our voices to say, oh, thanks. Oh, no, that's okay. But I want you to use your voice like you mean it, what it was meant for. So we're all going to practice this right now. You guys ready? Are you awake? Are you looking at me? All right. I want you guys to say the word no, and I want you to rattle this church right now. Ready? 1, 2, 3. No! Oh, we can do better than that. One more time. Come on. 1, 2, 3. No! Yeah. You say it like you mean it, right? Somebody's making you feel uncomfortable. If somebody is in your space, if somebody touches you in a way that you don't want to be touched, you tell them no. I want you guys, especially you young ones, I want you to go home and I want you to look in that mirror and see what your face looks like. Are you going, no? But I look really cute saying it. No. Why? Because that gives mixed messages, right? To that guy or girl, but to that guy, because I have a bunch of ladies in the room tonight, he's going to go, oh, well, she doesn't really mean it. I'm going to try a little harder. You mean it. When you say something, you mean it, right? Then you say it like you mean it. No, don't touch me like that. Excuse me, you're a little close. Back up. Or, I don't appreciate you telling me that. If a guy calls you sexy, don't allow that to happen. That is not cool. It doesn't mean he likes you and you're just the best thing that's ever happened in his life. The only thing that's going through his mind is that word without the Y. My mama taught me that. So, and she's right here in the audience. But it's true. You're not an object. Don't let him objectify you like that. There are lots of ways a guy can compliment you, how smart you are, how funny you are, how intriguing you are, how pretty your hair is, the way your eyes look, the way you light up when you watch a certain show or when you're reading something. There are so many things about you that are worth so much more than just being sexy. That I can promise you. No matter how old you are, don't ever let a guy call you sexy. You're worth way more than that. All right? So when you say something, you say it like you mean it. Mamas, when you're at a gas station filling up your cars, and there's somebody that's coming up to you asking for money, you're not going to go, oh, no, I'm so sorry. I don't have cash. I don't carry cash. I'm sorry. I'm just filling up my car. No, you're not sorry. No, you don't have money. Go away. You're not sorry. Don't be sorry for that. Girls, don't tell a guy you're sorry. No, I'm sorry, my mom, no, sorry, I don't want to kiss right here because everybody's looking. Don't be sorry. It is okay for you to say no. It is okay for you to look at somebody right in the eyes and tell them no. No now, no tomorrow, no forever. So don't ask me again. Period. It's not, well, then he's not going to think I'm cool, and then I'm going to be like one of those girls. Who cares? You're right, but change it. You are going to be one of those girls that stand up for themselves, that care about themselves, that see value in themselves. That makes it worth it. You are worth it. And you guys need to remember that, always. Now, observe, right? We're going to go through the paper here, so follow along, guys. Okay? O is observe. Look around you. What's going on? Are you walking out? Are you you guys are, I'm sorry. I love you guys, you younger ones, but man, and some of you older ones, but you guys get lost in your phones. When you're walking somewhere, you're just like, better not fall off the steps, huh? Look up, put your phone away. If you're walking to your car from the mall, or you're walking to your car and it's dark outside, even if it's well lit, look at where you're parking. Is it going to be dark when I leave? I should probably park under a light. But if I'm walking out to my car, I'm not fiddling for my keys and looking through my purse and moving my money away with my bags that I went shopping at the mall with because my friends, we all just hung out and it was so much fun. No. You get your keys before you walk out those doors. You're ready to get in your car. You don't get in your car and hang out in your car. That is not the time to catch up on your text messages. All women here. Okay? That is not the time to go, okay, I'm in my car, everything's fine. Now I'm going to catch up on my correspondence. That is not the time, guys. Do that at home, not in a parking lot. All right? Look around you. See what's going on. If you see somebody over there that looks sketchy, that looks weird, what happens? You get a little weird feeling, huh? How many of you have gotten that weird feeling and ignored it? All too often. You get that weird feeling, your instinct, that gut instinct, you were born with that for a reason. Don't shut it up. If there is anything you listen to your gut instinct. Listen to that instinct of something just doesn't feel right. Or that guy just seems kind of sketchy. Or why did he talk to me like that right away? If there's guys out there that are going, well, where are you going? Who are you talking to? Well, who are you with? I called you 3 times. You didn't answer your phone. That is a big fat red flag. It doesn't mean, oh, he must really care about me. He just really wants to know what I'm doing. No, that's possessive. That is bad red flag behavior from a guy. They should never treat you like that. Remember that. And I know there's some of you out there that have already gone through that thinking, oh, well, he must really like me. But you know that you had that also kind of weird feeling, but you didn't talk to anybody about it. I'm here to tell you that weird feeling is right. Don't talk to that guy anymore. Block him from your phone. My daughter was told she won't get a phone until she's 17, and it's true. She won't. I'm not giving her a phone until she's 17 because I'll give her one of those old-fashioned flip phones. And we have a landline. So that way, if she needs to talk to anybody at home, she's got a landline with a long cord. She can talk to whoever she wants in the kitchen. It's fine. I have no problem with it, right? But why? Because everything is at your fingertips. If you do have an iPod or iPhone or whatever these devices are out there, be responsible, be smart. Even on the good games, the ads are not good. Parents, pay attention to that. Notice your instincts. Also, if you do find yourself in a situation, stay calm because they want to put you off guard. You stay calm and controlled. You cannot panic. If you panic, you give all the power to them. All of it. Why? When you panic, you lose all your senses. You can't see what's going on around you. You get tunnel vision. You get auditory exclusion, which means you don't hear things as well because you're panicking. We can stop ourselves from panicking by using our experiences, knowing we're probably not in a good situation, and execute, leaving. Execute using our voice. Execute things that you will learn to defend yourself. There are so many things that you can do to defend yourself very easily. I promise you, it all starts with your voice. People out there that want to say, oh yeah, use whatever device you want. If you want to use an alarm, a sounding alarm, a fire extinguisher, I don't care. Use whatever you have to get away from an attacker. But if you're using your voice and your observation and you see somebody walking towards you and you tell them, no, don't even walk towards me. And you stand your ground and you look them in the eye and you say it like you mean it, I promise you they're going to be like, why? Because they want an easy target. They want the girl that's going, oh, no, I don't think it's a good idea, but oh, I'm sorry. You're an easy target at that point. And I'm just being honest. You're walking through the parking lot with your face buried in your phone, or through the mall with your face buried in the phone, because I don't know what you guys do while you're in the mall on your phone. But you do it, and you're an easy target. Don't make yourself a target. There are things you can do to stop that before it even happens. They won't even look your way because you're not an easy target, because you see them walking towards you, and you're not afraid to look them in the eye. Even if you're just passing, I'm not saying you go up to everybody and be like, what? I'm ready. I went and listened to this girl's talk, and she was like, I said no. Because they're going to be like, whoa, she's a little cray-cray. Right? But if they're walking past you, look them in the eye. Don't be afraid to look at somebody. Girls, any adult that is standing too close to you, if you turn around and you tell them, hey, you're kind of close, back up, and you make some space, any normal adult is going to go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was doing that. Absolutely. That's a normal adult reaction to that. But if they try to come in a little closer and say, oh, I'm sorry, I was just looking at how beautiful you are. Ew. Yuck. No. Right? One more time. Let's all say no. Like we mean it. And then my dad's going to come up, and I'm going to show you guys a couple of very, very easy and fast things that you can do if you're being attacked. But 1, 2, 3. No! No! Yeah. Get me all pumped up. All right. You ready, Dad? What do I do with this? I don't want it to yell back at me. Sorry.
Right there. Thanks, man. You the dad.
So if they come in to do that, and he comes in, all you have to do is block. It's a very quick, fast, effective block. I'm here. I've got a groin shot. That's my fave. I'm just being honest. You're going to push off. Space is safe. Remember that. Space is safe. I'm not going to teach you to tie up with the guy and pummel him. I might do that, but I'm also very well trained, right? But I want you guys to understand that space is safe. You're coming in, block that. Great shot, push off. Get back, get away from me. Right? Another one. A very common, I'm not gonna hit you. Not yet. So another great one. It's a big power thing that guys like to do is a choke. They like to choke you. They want you to understand that they're the boss. I've also been choked by a guy. Not fun, very scary. So when they choke you here, you're gonna raise your hand like you have a question. You're gonna come up, you have the best answer to this question. You're gonna turn, come down, come up with an elbow, groin strike, and push off. I love my dad, I don't want him to fall down the stairs, so I'm not gonna push him real hard, okay? But this movement, when he's here, your hand's coming up, you don't have a lot of time either. Your voice, people that say, oh, scream for help, you can't when you're being choked. It doesn't work. Your hand's coming up, you're gonna twist to break it. Come down, boom, boom. Get away from me, get back.
For sure.
Right? One more. They like to grab the back of your hair. They want to grab your hair and drag you. I've been drugged through a restaurant by my hair, getting slapped in the face. Lots of men. Okay, hold on. Oh. because I'm getting mad. Lots of men around, grown women. Nobody helped me. Not a single person in that restaurant helped me. They want to grab your hair as a power struggle, really throw them off. You're going to turn into them. If I go this way, hold on to my hair. If I go this way, I'm giving him all the strength, all the power. If he grabs my hair and I turn this way, break him down, boom, boom, get away from me. Right? You let him understand. Thanks, Dad, you're awesome. You let them know you're in control. You're in control of yourself. Clear? Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it.
How awesome was that? Oh my gosh. I'm like, yeah. I love it. And I love how honest she was to say, I have been drugged through a restaurant by my hair. I think a lot of people wouldn't admit that, but she learned from doing that people aren't going to always be there to come to your aid, so you better know what to do, right? So I want to thank y'all, but we've got a couple of more things to say. Thank you for your patience. I want to tie kind of a bow on this real quick to say that these 4 different segments, we tried to keep it short and succinct, just target points, so you could leave with information that would be valuable, those words. Anyway, for you to leave with and get some moving forward things that are just very easy for you to remember when you leave here. You know, human trafficking, now you understand more about, a little bit about the statistics and what is actually happening. I think it's important for everybody to know that. But you also know from breaking it down some more details about we can't just put people into categories of what we think traffickers look like. And also in that conversation, we're not just talking to y'all about trafficking. We're talking about the domineering, manipulative, overpowering, not healthy relationships. That's the same personality of a trafficker. And you just need to know it doesn't just work to prevent trafficking. It actually works to keep you from being controlled by another human. So, of course, Shirley Howard talked about the acronym I DO, and you've got to identify it, because if you know what your vulnerabilities are that they're looking for, then you're already ahead of the game while you deal with those issues. So back to the fact that we have resources on that back table. There's a list of counselors and therapists on a piece of paper, and we wanted to make sure that you had that list if you want it to take with you. You don't want to just get stuck in what happened to you back then any more than I did. You want to deal with those issues and move forward as a healthy person so that people don't continue to target you as the weak link in the room. You do not want to be that person. So do get help if you need it. And I've had counseling several times in my life. In fact, Shirley Howard has counseled with me. And if I get to a place where I feel stuck, if I'm hit a wall in an area and I can't push past it, I'll revisit counseling again if I need it. So don't feel like that makes you weak, because it makes you strong. That makes you strong to go and work on areas you need to. And proceeding with caution, oh yeah, it's my favorite. I just love that. You don't have to live in the red all the time. You don't have to walk around terrified. Not every guy or girl that talks to you is trying to traffic you or control you. But you have enough information from this event to know the difference between when they're doing that or if they truly are interested in getting to know you, whether it's a girl that would like to be your friend or a guy that would be interested in dating you, whatever the case is. You've got that information now. And all 4 of those segments are meant to make you vulnerable no more. So we just wanted to let you know that's the whole point of using, wherever it went, sort of the target there, is that when you put those pieces together, you are way ahead of the game already. And I want to talk for just a minute so you understand it quickly about what we're calling Strong One. Looks like this. There we go. So we developed an after action. That means that when people left here, you may leave with a few things that will help you in the future. But if you are a young person in mid school, high school, if you are a college and career age, or really up to 30s, we have 4 weeks of classes that are Zoom classes. We're calling them Power Zooms. We have spent months working on these. It's an hour for 4 weeks. 1 hour of your life for 4 weeks, and we have these wonderful short videos, and then the groups that are in those Power Zooms are going to get to know each other some, and y'all are going to talk about some real life scenarios that you're living in right now. There'll be an adult female facilitator in that group facilitating the class, and you just spend those 4 weeks talking about the 4 different topics, which I'm sorry I keep looking up there, but if y'all leave it up there. And so this is a Christian group. I mean, so that you know, we're not trying to sneak up on anybody with this information. If you're online and you're interested in this, you can also register for this. You would only need to go to our website to do so, or scan the barcode, because I do understand you can do that. So Strong One will begin next weekend and go for 4 weeks. There's one of the tables out in the foyer where you can go out if you're interested and look into that. Don't miss the opportunity if you're interested. You'll have friendships that'll develop in there, and you're going to learn so much more about yourself and who you are. So we want you to not miss that if you would. The second thing, we believe so much in the aspect of self-defense and learning that piece. It was a breakthrough for me. I said something about kickboxing. I was in my 50s before I finally had a breakthrough from some of the physical stuff that was done to me. And kickboxing is really what gave me a breakthrough, where I knew that I could still be feminine, but I could also bust out and go jack crazy in a parking lot for me. Not just for y'all, not just for my kids, but for me. And so I don't shut down anymore. If somebody starts to approach me in the parking lot, I'm that girl, you know. And even if I just go, I don't do that. I don't do that. You're getting too close. That has taught me through that how important that is. So we've got this time, and actually they're going to do our next one after our March event. Global One is going to do that for us, and I'm excited about that. But this time, we're using organization. They do Smart Girl Self-Defense, and we believe in it so much that we're sponsoring it. So there's a table outside. If you're interested in taking that class, get to the table and register for it, and it's our treat. It's that important to us. I want y'all to listen to Heather. She is wonderful. Heather Winklejohn's going to talk to you about the class.
Hi everyone, my name is Heather Winklejohn. I am the co-creator of Smart Girl Self-Defense. So we train girls and women ages 12 on up into their 90s, and self-defense is not just karate moves. It is so much more. It's a way of thinking, it's a way of living your life to help keep you and those around you safe. We've partnered with For the One because we're both very passionate about keeping young girls and women safe from danger, violence, and exploitation. And we know we've got a huge problem with that here in New Mexico and nationwide, but especially here in New Mexico. So we are very passionate about giving you the tools that you need to keep yourself safe. Please visit the table in the foyer. There's a Smart Girl Self-Defense table that will be set up during your event, and you can get more details. We have a class set up just for you, November the 12th. I can't wait to meet each and every one of you. You will not be disappointed, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for y'all. Whoever gets signed up for that, that is going to be amazing. So get the information outside. And then lastly, before we do our declarations, and y'all can start finding your declarations so that you'll have them ready, because we are doing that together and we leave here empowered, okay? So I want to talk to you for a minute. It's the first time I've ever done any kind of fundraising. Please don't flip the switch off. Just hear me out for a minute. We are determined to make these events free of charge and to begin to develop them into something we can give out to churches and community centers, to schools, that they would be able to take this information and share it within their organizations. And so that is one thing that we are really focused on right now, is developing that, keeping these events free. And I need you to understand that back when I only did awareness presentations, I'm not saying they didn't affect any change. What I'm saying is that it's not enough. We have to come at this with prevention. This is a verb. We are a verb. Is what we are. We are preventing. We're getting out ahead of it. When we had the house, we would continue to have girls calling or needing to come, and anybody that does this with their lives and works with those people groups know you are coming every time after it's already happened. We have got to get ahead of this. We have got to get ahead of it. It's the first time I ever feel hopeful that we can get on the other side of it before it happens. So that's what I'm asking. If you feel like this is really something that can change that scenario for finally, instead of it just happening every time and those numbers mounting and mounting, if you would come alongside us and champion with us this action-based, these events and this, I'm sorry, my brain is trying to fight with me right now because I don't want to say too much about this other thing. But to develop these things that we can get into the hands of other people who can use it as resources in their community. They can actually use it in their own churches, in their own schools. If you believe in that, and if you'll join me to champion that, I am asking whoever would be willing to do so. And I see faces in this room right now of people that already support us, and I want to thank you for that. But you can give, and I want you to know that if you go and scan that, it'll take you to the best way to do it. We do have envelopes. If you choose to do so and you think it's valuable, please join us, partner with us, and help us make this possible. Also, we don't want to take money from Phase 3. We have Phase 3 survivors. We're not going to use the money that we used to support them to do this. So it helps us from using that money as well when you partner with us. Save the date. Friday, March 4th is our next event, and it is both for men and women, and it'll be at Citizen Church. So I want to see if I can get everybody, thank y'all for listening to me for that part. I want to get everybody that was a part of this back up here, and we're all going to do this, the declarations together. So if I can get y'all to stand up with this real quick. Do we have everybody? Aw. Oh, hey, there we go. I thought we were missing somebody. We're lopsided. Okay. Aw. So I want us, every bit of this was in the content tonight. And I just want us all leaving, reminding ourselves that we are not vulnerable if we know what our areas are and we work on them. You know, it doesn't mean we're perfect and we're just strong. We're not lying to ourselves, but we're going to work on the areas we need to. And we're not going to be targeted anymore, and our children are not, and our grandchildren are not. So I want us to say this all together, if you would. Come on, y'all ready? I am not naive or gullible. I will not be groomed, recruited, or trafficked by males or females. I will not let another person tell me who I am or control what I do. I will set healthy boundaries. I won't second guess or doubt myself. I will trust my intuition. I am alert and prepared. I have a safety plan in place. I am not afraid to use my voice to stand up for myself and for others. I am confident. I am vulnerable no more. Thank y'all. Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys.